Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I am Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the United Kitchens. And with me is my co-host and friend. She is a certified nutritionist, and she is a celebrity chef, and she's always cooking up something very exciting. There's so much more to her. She's also an author. She is also a dream builder. She is a coach. She is a mentor, and she is really focused on having us learn how to have fun in the kitchen at the same time that we cook up nutritious meals. Let's welcome celebrity chef Ricki McKenna. Hi, Ricki.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn, and welcome everybody. Glad you're here.
It's a pleasure. I always love Fridays, especially seeing what you're whipping up for us and sharing all the nutritional aspects and values. And we've got a special show today because we have one of our team members here who's also a co-host on USA Global TV. Before we bring her out, though, Ricki, I want to spotlight you. And if you can just share with our audience a little bit about your background and why cooking nutritiously and having fun in the kitchen is so important to you.
Thank you. Yes, well, I've been a certified nutritionist since 1999, which seems like a long time ago. And every year something new happens and new things come out. So I've kept up with all the nuances and the new things about foods, and we're going to have a little bit more about gluten, glyphosate, a number of different things. I've cooked for many different companies and helped the American Dietetic Association and a number of different other insurance companies. So they understand that if they have healthy people, they will have better performance from their people. I've worked with children, I've worked with adults. I love doing these shows because it gets the word out to people. I want people to understand that food is something that you should cherish and eat real food, and therefore your body will work better for you, because when you eat, food's the basis for everything. And so I've learned after 20 plus years of working with food and people. I have a book out. My new book is coming out. It's Yes, You Can Eat Well and Eat Right. Because the food is the basis for your whole health. It affects you emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. And so we might as well enjoy life with a healthy body and brain according to what we put into it, because you are not just what you eat, you are what you can digest. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So I've worked with the whole body from the time I was actually a kid and started cooking. My whole family's full of chefs, and so we all enjoy cooking with real food. And my point is, real food is what you need. I've worked in schools, I've worked in offices, and my whole premise is that food is what we need to really eat. Be healthy. If you've got your health, you're wealthy. So I could go on, but I'd rather start cooking.
Thank you so much. I started to laugh when you said my family is full of chefs.
Yes.
I was like, wait for it.
Yeah, no, I have a son who is a phenomenal chef. He's not cordon bleu, but he's darn close. And then my daughter is amazing. She lives in Paris, so you can imagine all the goodies that she gets hold of there. And they've both been cooking since they were kids, and their kids also cook. I loved it when my son showed me he got a little bench for a 3-year-old so she could get up to the counter, and gave her one of the plastic knives so she could help cut. That's how we start. So they understand food. If you bring your kids into the kitchen with you, then they know what happens with food. They can partake of it and then enjoy their creations.
I love that. A family that cooks together, smiles together, socializes together, and you do it in a healthy way, which is so much fun. I want to bring on our co-host with me, who she is also one of our team members at USA Global TV. She is a clarity specialist. She's a brain coach, and she knows so much about longevity. We have a show together called Loving Longevity. We've got a big episode coming up today, and she is going to join us and give some different perspectives in terms of nutrition. So let's welcome Annie to the show. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Ricki and I have been talking, and what she does and what I do is so interrelated that I just couldn't help but come on the program. And what she said was true. You are what you absorb. So today, what we're going to talk a lot about is your gut health. And those things, that one right there, those things that if you eat, basically poke holes in your digestive system. Yes, we are going to talk about leaky gut. And, you know, we're told since we're like little children to eat our fruits and vegetables, but we're not really told what happens in the body when we don't. What really happens in our gut when we eat processed foods and gluten and glyphosate and crappy vegetable oils? So that's what we're really going to focus on today, is what's really going on when we deviate from what we should be doing.
And you know how they used to, I don't know if they still do, they have the posters in the post office of most wanted. I think my picture is next to leaky gut. Leaky gut, there I am.
Cross that one out.
Exactly. Next.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just a leaky gut is like the basis of so many conditions and so many diseases. And that's why it is just such an important topic for today. So not just what you should eat, but why you shouldn't eat the other things.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Ricki,
you can eat.
I'm going to spotlight you, Ricki, and if you can just give us a little overview or preview of what we're going to be seeing today, and then Annie and I will jump back with you.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I have to show you something. For anybody who cooks, I don't know if you all remember this book, The French Chef. It's Julia Child. And this book was published in 1961. And there's so many goodies in there. And when I started really cooking, the whole thing is open to my page. It's quiche au fromage, which is cheese quiche. And so this has been the basic recipe for all the quiche that I do, because there may be, there's thousands of recipes for quiche, but this is the basis. So I always go back to this one, and then you can add and interpret as you like. I totally believe in intuitive cooking, and if you like something more than what's in a recipe, you can add a little bit more. Except if you're baking, baking is a little more precise. But when it comes to cooking, what most of us do is, if you want more garlic, add a little bit more garlic. If you want a little bit more some other spice, oregano or something, and you're creating something with that, use it, because it's you make it your recipe. And that's what my book is all about, as a matter of fact, to eat well and eat right. You can make anything, you can interpret it your way to make it yours. And we're going to learn how to wash these things.
Okay, here we go. Annie, we will be just observing and commenting away. So do feel free, if you're watching us on the live, we'd love to hear from you. And periodically, I will put some comments up. And let's take it away, Ricki.
All right, whisk in hand. This is my symbol, by the way, for Ricki's Kitchen. I whisk up something good every time. Now, first thing I'm going to do is, when you get, a lot of people avoid leeks. That's what this is. It looks like a very well overgrown scallion or green onion, which it's in the family. And they're afraid to use them, because they're not difficult, but they're kind of a pain in the neck to clean. So what I usually do is, first of all, soak it in your water. Soak it in a tepid bath in your sink. And then you can take water and run it into the leaves. And then the best way to really make sure you get it clean is to slice. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see. I'm slicing down the middle, but not all the way through, so that you open the leek and you can see, there's a little bit of, I don't know if you can see this. There's a little bit of stuff in there. It's called earth, where the leek was born. And so I'm going to give that a little wash.
Are there any pearls in there, Ricki, or is that somewhere else?
Pearls? Now we got to do the oysters for that one, Dr. Jacalyn. So I'm giving this a wash, and you can see that I'm washing down. And then I'm going to turn it and shake it off this way so all of that stuff comes out. I'm not going to use the whole leek in this, so I'm going to cut off the bottom. Usually the dirt resides up to about 3/4 of the way down in the leek. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use some of the bottom. So I'm cutting off, I had cut off some of the roots, and actually to cut it so efficiently, I'm going to cut it like I'm doing quarters and then cut those as well. Kind of like cutting pizza, but into about 8 different pieces, and then start. Here we go. I want about 1/4 cup. So that's about what I have here. And I'm going to chop that up just a little bit more so it's teeny tiny. And I believe that's about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of the leeks. And I can add a little bit of the tops as well, because it's nice dark green, but we're not going to add too much because we're going to use spinach. So I'm cutting up the leek. I'm going to push it over on my board and save it. And actually, when you're using a knife on a wooden board, use the back of the knife so that you don't get any little pieces of wood in whatever you're making. There we go. Next, I'm going to cut up my cheese. And this time, Annie, we're using dairy. We're going to use Jarlsberg cheese because it's absolutely fabulous for quiche. And I'm going to cut the little rinds off. There are some cheeses that you can use the rind. You can eat the rind, but not the Jarlsberg because it's not edible.
Ricki, can I jump in here for a second?
Sure.
All right. Where we were talking about, we mentioned we were going to talk about gluten, but I also want to make a comment about dairy. And I realize we're on a global show here. So yeah. In the United States, our food's a little different than it is over in Europe.
Yes,
and because ours is processed so differently. But for folks, and we're going to put to work, we are going to talk about gluten here in a second, but there's some people that they avoid gluten because they know their bodies react to it. And then they start eating dairy and they start getting the same reaction with dairy. Yep. And it's because some dairy has what's called casein. And what it's referred to, it's molecular mimicry, because in your body responds to it the same way it responds to gluten. So if you go off gluten and you're still having digestive issues, eliminate dairy for a little while and see if that resolves it. And then Ricki and I were talking about the different things that you could be eating. I can eat goat cheese, and goat cheese doesn't bother me, but cow dairy cheese bothers me. That makes sense. So if you're having issues with dairy and cheese, eliminate it because it may be that casein that your body's reacting to.
The casein or lactose in the cow's milk.
Right. So they're going to be 2 different types of responses. Right. Yes.
Okay. What I wanted to show you is I cut this up into tiny bite-sized pieces. You can shred it. It's a little shorter and a little easier process if you just cut it up. And I've got about a cup. And let's see if we can get that in there. So I'm going to mix my cheese in a minute, but I'm going to take some of it. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit more. And I'm using a Pyrex dish, a glass dish. And remember, I said no crust. So what we're going to do in place of crust is take butter, good old butter, and not margarine, because margarine has an interesting history. Margarine was created by some chemists to fatten up turkeys, just in case you're interested. And Annie's grinning because I think she knows the story. And they found out that it didn't work too well. So they decided to put some coloring in it because it was icky white. And they decided to put coloring in it to make it yellow and look like butter. The only problem is it isn't like butter. It is greasy and it can make you ill. But at any rate, margarine has become something that has been promoted. And if you want to know the difference, try putting a stick of margarine outside on a warm day and a stick of butter and watch where the bugs go. The margarine will still be there, but the bugs love butter because it's a real food.
Right, and our bodies know what to do with real food, and our bodies don't know what to do with chemicals, and our bodies store chemicals, and they cause inflammation and they cause disease. And that's part of the reason why we're going to start explaining why these manufactured foods are harmful, because our bodies were divinely designed to process real food. So you're making a crustless quiche. So I want to talk about gluten here for a second.
Go for the gluten.
Yeah. Gluten is the Latin word. Yes.
And give me 2 seconds to explain something. I'm lining the bottom with the cheese and you spread it out evenly, and then add a little bit of the leek along with it. So I'm mixing the cheese and the leek in the bottom to begin with, but I'm leaving some to put on the top as well. Most of the leek goes in. You can use onions as well, but we're using leeks today because I love the flavor of leeks. They're a little bit lighter than most onions, a little lighter flavor. So there we go. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt on that. Go, Annie.
All right. Gluten is the Latin word for glue, and it's the sticky protein in things like wheat and rye and barley and other grains. And what happens when you ingest anything with gluten is it goes down into your intestinal lining and pokes holes in it. It permeates your intestinal lining. And why is that important? Because when you ingest something and you eat it, when you eat it and when it comes out the other end, you have about 30 feet of tubing. And that tubing is to protect the rest of your body from viruses and bacteria and bad bugs, is what we call it in your gut. We don't want those bad bugs and proteins and bacteria getting into your bloodstream. So that your intestinal lining is there to protect the rest of your body. Well, when you eat gluten, it pokes holes in it, and that bad bacteria and those proteins and those viruses get out into your bloodstream and cause things like inflammation. And then autoimmune responses, because your body starts attacking what is now out loose in your bloodstream, And there is no safe level of gluten, and there's no nutritional requirement for it. So I want you to think about, okay, well, I only have pizza on Friday nights. Okay, how harmful can that be? Well, it takes 5 to 7 days for your intestinal lining to heal itself. It replaces itself every 5 to 7 days. If you eat gluten once a week, your intestinal lining does not have the chance to heal those holes that you've been making in it. So you really never recover, and you never seal up your intestinal lining. So, and yes.
All right. Okay, now, we've got,
what about gluten-free pizza? Absolutely. And this is where the differentiation is going to be between what we have in the United States and the healthy stuff the rest of you have in the rest of the world. If a box, jar, package doesn't say something is gluten-free, I want you to assume that there is gluten in there somewhere. Now, it's pretty easy to understand. And the other thing that gluten does, because 70% of your immunity is made in your gut. And we know how important it is right now that we have strong immune systems. So we all understand wheat, pasta, crackers, bread, bagels, croissants, all of that. What we don't realize is they put gluten or wheat in things like ketchup, soups, barbecue sauces, salad dressings to thicken them up. And sometimes the box or the bottle or the jar will actually say wheat on it, but there are code words for gluten, such as caramel coloring, which is made from barley, natural flavor. That's a good one. Modified food starch. So the question about the cauliflower pizza crust, I want you to make sure you look at it to see what kind of food starch is in there. But if it says it's gluten-free on the package, you're in good shape. If it's made with almond flour or cauliflower, you're in good shape, as long as it says that it's gluten-free. And here's where the marketing schemes come into play, that they may say it's a cauliflower crust pizza and not say it's gluten-free, and there's still gluten back on the ingredient label somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm the one who asked that question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to start reading labels. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Unless it says it's gluten-free, it's hidden in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Perfect. Ricki?
I had a client, nutritional client, who said, I love sriracha sauce, but it just upsets my stomach. I said, look on the label. It has wheat. And wheat, rye, barley are your three offending, if you will, grains. And this whole thing about eat your whole grains. There's so many other grains out there that you could use rather than wheat, rye, or barley. Actually, I always use almond flour, oat flour, coconut flour. I also take my oats, which are gluten-free because we check the package, and I put them in my food processor, and we end up with oat flour. So there's a lot of different things with which you can substitute rather than putting the gluten into your gut. By the way, 3 eggs, 2 little things of garlic, and I love garlic. And so I'm going to chop up the garlic. There was something else I wanted to mention, actually, Annie, to add to what you said that I mentioned to my clients. And that was, there's so many other things out there to eat because I've gotten, oh, if I can't eat that, what can I eat? The world is full of incredibly delicious foods. And we sometimes end up using the same approximately 15 foods every week or every other week. And so to try something new is what I usually encourage my clients to do. And excuse me for looking down, but I do want to leave the garlic in here, but not any pieces of my fingers. So I'm going to watch what I'm doing. The recipe does not call for garlic. However, we happen to like it. So I've chopped up 2 little cloves. You can use a garlic press if you like. And I just prefer to do things by hand because for me, that's the way I do it. And I'm going to take my milk, which is in a glass bottle. If you can find glass bottles, there's a couple of companies now who are using the glass bottles, and they're charging, this is interesting, they're charging a $2 return fee. And so I decided this is worth $2 to keep it. So I've got my cream and my milk mixed in there. That is actually almond milk. And what I'm going to do is measure it in this cup to show you. We're going to use about 1.5 cups total. That's a cup. Putting it in with the eggs and the garlic. And we'll add a little salt and pepper. And that is just under 1/2 cup. So what I'm going to do is take some coconut milk out of a can. It's an organic can of coconut. And if I can find my spoon, I'm going to take a little bit more of the coconut milk because it's really nice and thick to go in with the milk. And by the way, I always use full fat coconut or full fat any kind of milk if I'm going to use milk. So I've got there, it makes up 1/2 cup. I'm going to pour that in. Okay. And we're going to whisk that up so we get the eggs and the milk and the garlic all together. Now remember, I've got my cheese and the leek, and you can use onion, but we're using leek today. And I'm going to make sure that my whisk gets every single bit of that lovely yolk. Put a little bit salt in, and I'm going to add something else that we made at another time called the Mega Mediterranean blend. And when you have glass jars that you're using for that you buy your spices in, when they're empty, keep them. Put them through your dishwasher, wash them out thoroughly, and you can relabel them with whatever you decide to make at home. And I'll tell you what's in this wonderful blend. I'm using about a teaspoon that I'm going to put in there. And this has parsley, oregano, thyme, paprika, toasted sesame seeds, ground coriander, cumin, orange peel, black pepper, granulated garlic, then some granulated onion, sea salt, allspice, and cinnamon. So we're going to have an interesting combination of flavors in here. Now I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to take my spinach, because this is a spinach leek quiche. And I've got 2 cups of spinach. Now I can put it in whole the way it is. It's baby spinach. But what I like to do is chop it up a little bit so it does get distributed more evenly, and it's easier to go through and cook in the quiche. So we're just going to roughly chop it. All right, you can use spinach, you can use kale, you can use collard greens. Although with collard greens, what I would do is actually cook them, saute them for about 5 minutes before you put them in with the quiche, because they take a little bit longer to soften up. So I'm going to carefully spread my spinach in the dish. Everybody can see that. And you want to spread it out evenly so it cooks that way, because I'm going to add a little bit more cheese here now. And you can use a non-dairy cheese. I believe stores like Sprouts in the United States has non-dairy cheeses, and you can probably check with Whole Foods as well. I'm going to pour my mixture of milk, cream, and eggs, and salt and pepper, and the mega spice there, the Mediterranean spice, and distribute it evenly. Kind of give a little, let it distribute there. And then I'm going to add some more of my cheese on top. And try to get that evenly as well. Right? Okay, now I'm going to take some butter, the real stuff, and this is the cutest butter dish I ever got. I was given that as a gift, and it comes with its very own spreader. So I'm going to take some butter, and just dot it across the top. Because what it does, it helps the quiche to brown a little bit. You can also melt the butter and brush it on with a pastry brush if you like. So there's another way to do this. And I want you to note how full this dish is, because you can use a quiche dish or you can use a pie pan that's been greased. But I prefer the glass to cook in as well as for storage. Okay, here's what we look like before it gets cooked. Can everybody see that? I'm sorry, it's a new camera and we're rearranging things.
We can see it.
It's about halfway full, so I'm going to put it in my oven, which is at 375 on the middle rack. And that should be in there. One thing about quiche is you really can't overcook it. And that's kind of something that, if you bake a muffin too much, it's going to be really dried out, or bread. But with quiche, it's very interesting. This recipe calls for normally cooking it for about 25 to 35 minutes. And yesterday when I made the original recipe, to start with, I had to cook it for 20 minutes more. So it cooked for literally about 45 minutes, but check your oven because your oven's different from mine. And here's the pretty quiche lift. We've already attacked that one, by the way. Check your oven to make sure you just put a toothpick in. After 25, 35 minutes, open it up, take a toothpick and put it in the middle of it. If it comes out clean, then it's probably done. But if you get a little cheese or something on the toothpick, put it back in for another 10 minutes at least. And then what I like to do to make sure that everything's done in the quiche is to turn the oven off and leave it in there for an additional 5-10 minutes. By the way, in that dish and in any dish that you make, because it's the quiche and it has the eggs and the cream all whipped up, it will rise and it will almost come up to the top of the dish. And as you take it out, it's almost like a souffle. When you take it out, then it kind of calms back down and there's your quiche.
Beautiful. Very nice.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
We did have a question.
Oh, good. Maybe
What
we
about
can-
using cooking oil for your skin and for cooking?
Coconut oil? Yes, love it. Coconut oil has a higher flash point if you're using, first of all, I don't use vegetable oil. I haven't for 20 years. If you're cooking something that needs the flavor of olive oil, great, but be careful because the flash point is lower than something like coconut or grapeseed oil. Both of those have a higher flash point, and what that means is literally the oil will go on fire. And just make sure you have a nice thick towel around if that happens. Do not use water. But the coconut oil I love. I use it on my skin. I use coconut oil, and I use MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides, which are actually part of the good fat family. Coconut oil is great for your skin, for your hair, and for a number of other things, ladies, we'll talk about another time. Yeah, coconut oil is definitely good. Annie's shaking.
Awesome.
I love it. And
When we girls get together.
oh yeah.
Annie, did you have any comments about coconut oil?
Well, and I told Ricki, don't ask me anything about cooking because I don't really cook. But the one thing I do know is for high heat cooking to use avocado oil rather than olive oil, to use your good organic virgin, extra virgin olive oil for your salad dressings and just your very low heat cooking. But anything above that, to use avocado oil. And and since we're talking oils, let's go ahead and segue there. The crappy vegetable oils, they're very unstable because when they heat them, they get oxidized. And when they get oxidized, they create inflammation in our body. So inflammation, as we know, is the basically root cause of all disease. So if you remember the big cans of Crisco when you were a little girl, watching your mother cook with them, I just cringe when I think about them now. But they also release high levels of aldehydes, which is linked to everything from dementia to cancer. So the oils that you want to avoid are, and I'm going to read, I have a list here because I want to make sure I get all of them. Corn oil, canola, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, and I have grapeseed on this list, Ricki, and rice bran oil. Yes, that they're all considered, and that the expert in my eyes when it comes to talking about these types of oils is Dr. Kate Shanahan. She is one of the experts in the field of what these oils actually do to your body, and that's where I got the list from. But just know that they oxidize, they trigger inflammation, and no good can come from that.
Interestingly, Annie, I'm sure you're aware of this, but every other week there's something else new that comes out that from research that's been done with either oils or fats or some sort of food. So be aware, and one of my biggest requests and demands of my clients and friends is read labels and know what you're reading. And if you don't know how to read a label, call me, please, or text me or something, because I will help you understand. Labels are done not particularly for clarity, but to comply with some regulations. So they're not already all easily readable and understandable. And I do get really passionate about that, because I've had people say, well, I bought this and it said, and then they look at it and you know the old 5 ingredient thing, if it has more than 5 ingredients. My favorite was tortillas. You get packaged tortillas that have 27, literally I counted them one time, ingredients. And tortillas have 3. If you want to add a little spinach of your own or something like that. So look carefully at what you're buying by reading the labels. And I'm happy to help anybody there for free. Just call me.
That's excellent. You know, it's interesting, and I know I shared this with you ladies before, but I have 3 autoimmune illnesses, diseases, and I have eczema all over my face and half my body right now. I'm ready to scream. And I really watch what I eat, but I'm not paying as much attention to labels as I should. But for example, I don't cook anymore for the last few months, but I do order in regularly from a place that I'm not getting paid to mention, so I'm not going to say it, but the word true is in there. And it's only organic, healthy food that's gluten-free. So it becomes sort of the chicken and the egg, because as our friend Red would tell us, you have to find the root cause of what the situation is before you can actually address it. And just for myself, I asked about the coconut oil also, is you start putting something on it that maybe you're allergic to, and then it just goes to this violent cycle, and then it's like, hello, prednisone. So yes, Annie.
Just because something is considered quote unquote healthy doesn't mean your body's not sensitive to it.
True.
Exactly.
Right. So it's being really intuitive and really paying attention to how your body is reacting to everything. The leaky gut is one of the foundational conditions for all autoimmunes. So number 1 is healing your gut. Number 2 is your genetic predisposition, which you really can't change. But if you can figure out where your triggers are, then you'll be able to lower your symptoms and get yourself into remission. But it's finding out where those triggers are. So a relatively healthy food could be a trigger for you.
It can.
Yeah.
And I have several people who are literally allergic to olive oil. It's considered a great healthful food. Onions and several other things that we consider really good food, their bodies do not like them. So very much awareness is a biggie. And in my book, in this new book, Eat Well and Eat Right, it addresses things like the gluten. It also addresses a couple of sources for you to check out different foods, especially for spinach and apples. It's EWG, Environmental Works Group.org. Please, it's EWG.org. Check it out. If you're not sure what you want to buy organic, check with them. They have their Dirty Dozen and their Clean 15. And so you'll be able to look at that.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing all of that. And if there's anyone out there who also struggles with autoimmune, obviously you've got experts here who can help you, would love to hear from you. I'm just going to put up the banners again. We've got Ricki's information here. Ricki, anything you want to add to this?
Just thank you. And don't be afraid of food. Find some food that you really love and work with it. And then add another one and add another one and build up your food. And thank you, Annie, for coming on today. Great information. And eat healthy.
All right. Thank you. Annie, how about you? Would you like to share with our audience this special that you have, and also tell them about the show this afternoon, if you would, please?
Oh, so many exciting things. All right. So I co-host the show. It's called Loving Longevity with Dr. Jacalyn, and we are on at 3 p.m. this afternoon. And we are honored to have the CEO and creator of the Lifewave patches. They are stem cell activation patches. He is going to be our guest, and we're going to take a deep dive into stem cell activation. Now, what does that mean for you all and gluten and leaky gut? Well, this little patch here, which is the X39 stem cell activation patch, can heal your gut. It'll go in, the stem cells will go and repair your gut. That's what's really exciting about this patch and this show. Also, there's another patch that's called Ion to reduce the inflammation, i.e. triggers for your autoimmunes, and glutathione, which actually will detoxify the toxins that are in there right now. And the special is today and tomorrow, when you place a wholesale order of $200 or more, you will get a free sleeve of glutathione patches. This is a whole month supply of glutathione, which is the master longevity antioxidant, because it is made in every cell in your body, and it detoxifies your entire body, so it can help detoxify all that gluten and glyphosate and everything out of your system, so you are what you absorb. I think we started off the program with that premise. And so what you need to do to be able to absorb those nutrients is detoxify, and that's what glutathione is all about. So today and tomorrow, if you place that order, then you get a free month supply of the glutathione. You can get that at www.lifewave.com/timeless aging.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you, Ricki. It was nice to have this little tag team today, duo. And I look forward to future shows with both of you.
Okay, look up rickiskitchen.net.
All righty.
All right. Thank you, Ricki. And thank you, Annie.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you later. Well, that was another fabulous show with a lot of great information that really pertains to most of us, if not all of us. Our next show is The Listening Mentor, and joining me is Caroline Heward. So I look forward to sharing the stage with her and talking about how we can minimize and bust anxiety and stress. So do join us. Also, you can watch all of our shows live on USA Global TV on YouTube. We organize all of our shows into playlists. By the end of the week, every show will be in its associated playlist. You can watch all of our shows after the fact, also on our YouTube channel or on our website, usaglobaltv.com. And if you go to our website, you can actually book your session to be a guest on our shows. That just go to usaglobaltv.com, book your session. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating and putting comments in. We really do appreciate it. And we look forward to bringing you more fabulous education and entertainment here on USA Global TV. Thank you. Take care.